Excited to welcome you to our webinar this morning to talk about Money Matters. The National Coalition of 100 Black Women has a Money Matters initiative, and today we will hear from Michelle Jefferson and Edward Williams, who have a combined 50 years experience in financial advising, and they are so excited to present to you all today. So without further ado, I am going to start our first slide. Just give me a moment. Okay, let me make sure. If someone is, can you all see that slide? I just want to be sure. If you guys could put in the chat box, can you see that slide on the screen? Yes, Tamika is active this morning. I don't see anyone else being active because we do have several people on the line. Okay, so we can go ahead and get started.
Good morning, young people. Thank you for taking your Saturday morning and participating in the Money Matters. My name is Michelle Jefferson, and as Krista said, I will be presenting with my colleague and friend, Ed Williams. So the first section that we will be going through is banking services. Next slide. We are going to talk about checking and savings accounts and what type of places that you can bank and what to be aware of when you are banking. So let's talk about some high cost financial services. And these are the type of services that you would not necessarily want to be your first choice or really a choice at all if you can avoid them. Pawn shops. Pawn shops, you go in, you bring your item, but they charge you a very high interest rate on whatever you bring in. Rent to own programs. If you, let's say you see a TV and you want to buy the TV and they say rent to own, you are paying, let's say the TV is $300, you may end up paying $450 if you do the rent to own. So it may be better, well, it is better to save your money and buy, once you get the $300, purchase that TV, then you save yourself $150. There are cash in checking outlets where you can go in and cash your check, but they charge you really high fees. There's the rapid refund tax service. When you go to get your taxes, if you use if your parents use that rapid refund service, they are charged a lot of money. So let's say they're getting $400, or let's say they're getting $1,500 back. They may be charged $600 and only end up getting $900 back. Where if they did it themselves, or sometimes they're free services, or a walkthrough on the computer where it may cost you $100, or if you wait and don't get the rapid refund. Are we loud enough? If you don't get the rapid, doesn't hear at all. If you don't get the rapid refund, then you will also save yourself some money. So at banking, we're going to look at fees, the charges that bank charge you to bank, and we're going to go ahead and go to the next slide, please. So opening a checking account. When you open a checking account, you have to go into that banking institution. And since 9/11, the laws have changed. So you have to be able to identify yourself. You'll need a photo ID. And now they're going back to you'll need to have two sources of ID. It's almost like when you go to get a job, and I know a lot of you have not had that opportunity yet, but you need two forms of IDs. You will fill out the form. So you see where it says opening a checking account, they will ask for your name, address, your social security number, one form of your ID. You will need to verify your address. And then that is what happens when you open in a checking account. We are in a digital society, so they do have a where you can make a deposit once you open your bank account and you want to go put money in your bank account. There are a few ways that happens. You can go in, you can take the cash physically, and there's on the right side of the screen the deposit slip form. What you would do is complete that deposit slip form. If you have cash, you would put cash, put it in. If you have a check, you would identify the check amount as you would identify the check and then the net deposit. Now, what may happen is if you put in a check, they may put a hold on that money for a couple of days, depending on if the check is an in-state check or an out-of-state check. Next slide. Can you go? Okay. So we're going to just continue speaking about checking. Our screen is stuck, so I'm going to go over some basic things that when you go to open a checking account, what do you need to look for? You need to look for how much the bank is going to charge you to put your money in their account. So the primary fee, so typically a bank will allow you to put in, they will require a minimum balance of $1,500. Let's say $1,500. If you have $1,500, then they're not going to charge you a fee. If you have less than $1,500, they're going to charge you a monthly service fees. Those fees vary. Bank, how do we advance it? That didn't work. Those fees, oh yes, those fees, oh, well, that's okay if he's in it. Then we'll talk back and forth. Those fees vary back and forth. Those fees vary back and forth. So let's talk about that. When I go to a bank, let's say Bank of America or Wells Fargo. If I go to Wells Fargo may require me to have a minimum fee of a minimum of $1,500, and then they won't charge me any money to put my bank in the checking account. However, if I go below that $1,500, so let's say you're babysitting and you get $50 for babysitting and you put in $50 and that's all you have is that $50. They may charge you anywhere from $5 to almost $20 service fee once a month to have that bank account. And so when you're looking for a bank, when you're looking for a checking account, one thing you need to look at is compare. When I go to Wells Fargo, Bank of America, you may go to a credit union. What are they going to charge me if I don't meet their minimum requirement balance? Now, if you write a check, remember, we're now in a, well, you guys know better than we do. We're in a digital society. So a lot of times you won't have to write a check nowadays. Everything is digital, but for larger transactions, so if you're buying a home, that require you to write a check. When you write a check, if you look at the top of the right of the screen, you will put pay to the order of. So if I'm buying a home and the mortgage lender is Wells Fargo, well, let's just use, let's say Wells Fargo is the builder, even though they're bank. We're going to do pay to the order of Wells Fargo. Let's say my deposit is $100. I would write out literally $100. And since there are no cents, you would do 0 over 100. So there, and that is how you would write the check. You need to make sure you date it, and then you put in the numerical amount. In addition to that, you sign it with the signature line, and that makes it, you execute the signature line, and that makes it valid. One thing I also wanted to state, now since we're in a digital world and money, you can use your um, what they call is a routing number, your ABA account routing number. So if you look at the bottom of the check, item 7, that is the routing number. If you're wanting to wire money, or if you're wanting to set up an automatic pay check on bills, I'm hearing a little feedback. So, oh, okay. Okay, so I am hearing a little bit feedback. I don't know if it's about, if everybody could put their, let's put everybody's computers on mute. Right, but I was going to go to the next page because we talked about the routing number. So, like when you start a new job, this is something to keep in mind. If you want your, okay, so we can hear someone saying, "How do you click?" So, if you go to your job, you can do direct deposits, and then they'll ask you a copy of your voided check, which is the check up on the screen. But they will also ask you to complete the routing information. The routing information is at the bottom, and to the right, account information, and that's very important. Okay, so we're going to the next screen. Okay, so let's talk about keeping track of your money. That is key critical. Now we're not in an environment where you're writing as many checks. What most of you are probably familiar with is an ATM card or a debit card. And when you get a new bank account, they will give you an ATM card. The ATM card, you will get a pen. So when that ATM card comes, what the bank will do is have you call, verify, they'll have you call in a security number. They want to make sure. Oh yeah, the ATM card would look, is this a smart card? The ATM card may look like this, right? So the bank will have you call and verify that it's a security step, that it's you, and that you go ahead and get the access. What's the right word I'm looking for? Well, access to the credit card. You activate the credit card, but not the credit card, the debit card. But here is what is really, really important. It is very important, everything that you buy with your debit card or out of your bank, that you keep a balance. So you put, when you get your checks, you will get a check ledger. You can do this either with the check ledger that you receive. You can create your own, but it's really important. So if I go out and I buy a video game and it's $50, I need to put in $50 that I've paid. Let's say you start with $200. You have $200 in your account. So you'll put the date of the transaction. Now this on your ledger just says check number. It's key critical that you record every transaction that you do with your debit card. So you will put $50. I paid $50 for my video game. You started with $200. So then if you net that out, then that will leave you $150. You go to the store, you go to McDonald's, you buy a Coke for $1. If you're using your debit card, keep track. One thing, it's really easy to use the card and not keep track and then lose balance. So make sure that every time you spend with your debit card tied to your bank account, that you write that information down. Do we have any questions on that? Yes.
So I just wanted to interject. I know a lot of you all are using smartphones and computers, laptops, and so forth, tablets. there are software available that you can download from your bank or your financial institution that will help do this online in a digital format, instead of using the old paper style where you have to write everything down. So make sure you do keep some kind of a record of your transactions so that you don't forget and do an overcharge.
Okay. So on the right side of the page, it's your bank statement. At the top, it tells you your previous balance. It will give you your previous balance, your total balance, and then what you withdrew totally for the month. It will also, in numerical order by date, give you what transactions you did. So if you bought a video game for $50, that would show. If you went to the ATM to withdraw money, that would show. Now, one thing about using your debit/ATM card, going to the ATM costs you money. So if I bank with Bank of America and my checking account is with Bank of America, if I go to a Bank of America ATM, they will not charge me any money. However, if I go to a Wells Fargo Bank of America, it's like, oh, I ran out of the house, I need cash for something. And I go to a Wells Fargo ATM, they will charge you anywhere from $30 to $35 to use your money. So one good takeaway is always make sure that you're pulling cash out of the bank's ATM that you bank with, because you don't want to be charged to use your own money. So we're going to go to the next slide. Oh, it didn't go down. So some real quick tips of other things that the bank will have. You can put your checking, you can open a checking account, you can open a savings account. Savings account, you can, if you have a, you can, well, on the that's okay. On the savings account, you can make interest on your money, right? Let me just take a step back and go to the reconciling a checking account. When at the end of the month, you need to look at your bank, reconcile it, and make sure that you are in line. I recommend doing it more than monthly. I recommend, especially when you're first starting out, to keep track of what you're spending. On a weekly basis, look at your account weekly and look at your deposits and your what they call debits. So we talked a little bit about a direct deposit. That occurs if you start a job. Your employer now will ask to do a direct deposit. So you would give them a copy of the voided check. On the previous screen you saw that. In addition to, you would provide them with that ABA number. So what your electronic banking services are your direct deposits, any type of automatic payment. So your parents may pay their mortgage automatically online. That's an automatic payment, and they set that up to pay every month, and it will automatically come out. A point of sale transaction, what does that mean? That just means that you're using that debit card and you're going to a Target, a 7-Eleven, a McDonald's, wherever you're going to buy something, and you're using that debit card, and that is a point of sale transaction. And there are smart cards where you can load a specific amount of money on an electronic card and then use that. That's another way to help you manage your money. Online banking, which you will probably do, you can go online, look at your transactions immediately. You can go online and look at your previous statements and then where you are during the month. So we're going to go to the next screen. One good thing about banking with a bank is your money is insured by the FDIC. And so up to $250,000. So if something ever happened to the bank and the bank got in trouble and you had a checking account with them, that's per depositor. So if you have more than one account with them, it doesn't matter. It's only up to $250,000. So one other thing, I want to just take another step back and go with the checking. If you ever write checks, you need to make sure that when you write that check, you have the amount of money in that account to cover the cost. Because if you do not, I know it says smart cards, but I just took a step back. If you do not have that amount of money in it, then you will get charged a significant fee. I don't know. I think they charge you and then they charge somebody else. So it could be up to what, $70. So you don't want to give away your money. You've worked hard for your money. You don't want to give away your money. Okay. Next screen. Is that it? Okay, so I think we've covered everything in a nutshell with banking services. Are there any questions at this time and on banking? So the key takeaways, if you're looking for a bank account, make sure you look at the cost and compare each banking institution or credit union and see how much they cost you to put your money there. Right now, the less you're young and the less amount of money that you're making, they're charging you for money. So you want to go to the place that has the least amount of fees so you're not giving away your money. And we will move on to the next presentation or the next part of our screen and talk about a spending plan and looking at spending and making sure that you are spending wisely. And if you take anything away, hopefully you get these learn these skills early and they'll be ingrained in you. Give yourself a lot of money and be able to grow your money. So we're going to the allowance and spending plan. But, oh, you had a question? I see them now. Okay. Can everyone see the documents? But it said I don't see any documents. Okay, she's good. Any questions, anyone? I didn't see any. Are you guys there? Oh, could you instruct the viewers using smartphones to swipe left? Right.
If you're using your smartphones, you can swipe to see. I think someone had an issue earlier, but it looks like she figured it out. But for anyone on their phone, just swipe left or right to see.
Let's go to the next set of.
Okay, give us just a second. We're going to switch PowerPoints, switch presentations.
That's the one we just completed.
So what's it called? Is it Moneymaker?
Allowance and spending.
Yeah, allowance and spending plans. Yep. Ed is going to share with you the piece on the allowance and the spending plans.
Good morning, everyone. I'm happy to be here with you today on a Saturday morning. I don't know if you're happy to be here.
Saturday money morning.
Oh, Saturday morning, yeah. Yeah. But anyway, we're going to talk about allowances and spending. By show of feedback on the chat, how many of you get an allowance now?
Anyone?
Just say I do or yes. Okay.
Well, if you're saying I do or no, we can't see you.
Okay, I see
Oh, no, no,
one,
yes, no. Okay, great.
two, yeah, okay, good, good, good. All right, good.
Does anybody have a job, part-time job? Oh, they're young.
Yeah.
They're 6 to 8.
An allowance, all right, now, allowances are given to you by your parents uh, to help you learn the skills of money management. Allowances are also given to you if you do certain chores or if you do a certain job for maybe another relative or neighbor or someone that will pay you for doing something for them. Okay, and so that is a source of income that you can use to spend on your particular needs. It depends on what your parents would like you to do with the funds that they give you. They may allow you to, just spend it all on whatever you want, or they may want you to put some of it aside to begin to learn some spending habits and saving habits. Maybe put, for instance, if you get $10 a week, I don't know what the going average is for students, kids getting an allowance these days, but if you get a $10 a week allowance, the parents may ask you to save a dollar, put it in a bank, or put it in some kind of place where you can see the accumulation of that dollar every week. So at the end of, of a month, you would have $4 set aside, and you've spent the rest of it. Or they may want you to do something even better, maybe just take 90% and put it in some kind of savings mechanism, and you only take a dollar. But in any case, whatever it is that your parents want, I'm sure they're trying to teach you some habits of how to use your money. Okay, so I'm going to try to go to the next slide here. Okay, so let's talk about allowance allocations. Now, most of you, I'm sure, are in school right now, so you have some needs in school. You may want to buy something while you're in school, or you may want to buy something after school, or maybe you've setting aside some money to buy some video games or whatever. Okay, so let's say you got $10 and you wanted to spend some of that on different things that you want, then that's an allocation. You would set aside an allowance allocation. And what you need to do is kind of sit down with your parents and write out how you're going to allocate that monies. All right. So, get some assistance from your parents and sit down. Okay, Mom, I want to spend, $5 on a particular lunch that I don't want it, that I want myself at school, for instance. You may not want to eat the lunch that school has, so you set aside some money that you're going to buy a lunch on your own. So you need to determine how much that lunch is, and set that money aside. If you're going to do it once a week, then you set aside that weekly amount. Video games, sometimes these games can be expensive when you're doing video games, or you're downloading video games from some website that you like to play. So you want to set aside that. And then as time goes on, you may even want to go to the movie every week, or once every other week, or once a month, whatever the case may be. You're going to set aside the amount to go to a movie. Also, sport equipment. If you're into sports, you probably want to set aside some monies for sport equipment. Maybe basketball, a glove, or tennis racket, or whatever the case may be. All right. Now, how many of you like to go to the movies? Just do another show out there on the chat. That how many of you like to go to the movies, and how often do you like to go to the movies? Okay. All right. Okay. All right. That's good. It look like you like to go to the movies, and that's good. The movie is a good entertainment. Yes. Depending on what the movie is, in my opinion. But yeah, going to the movies is fun. you hang out with your friends, hang out with other people. You can go to a movie together and maybe go to a restaurant or something of that nature. Okay, so that costs money, and so you want to be able to set aside some monies for you to go to your movie. Okay. Now, I think you should write this down. This is the formulation of a budget. I think we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But anyway, the allocations, your allowance allocation, is actually the first start of creating a budget for yourself. Okay? So, you know, the parents, they typically do create a budget, and you can follow in their vein and get some instructions from them as to how you want to create a budget so that you'll have an amount for spending and amount for savings. Okay? Now, does anyone have an allowance that they are allocating in a budget that you've written down? Do any of you write down what you spend from your allowance? Just do another chat for me. Okay. Look like we have one or two of you. Okay, that's good. That's good. At this stage of the game, at your age, that might be considered advanced financial planning. We do financial planning for adults, but for yourself at this stage, I would say that's at your age, that's advanced financial planning. If you write down something and make some allocations. Okay. Now, what we want to talk about also here is you buy clothes. You want to buy clothes, so you would allocate some monies for that. And you know, a lot of people like to have their kids set aside money for church spending or some charity, some donations. You know, like for instance, you know, we have this hurricane that came through the area in the Bahamas and just wiped out the island of Bahama, and so that might be something that you might want to donate some money to, and be able to set aside some money to give somebody that are less fortunate than yourself. Okay.
Savings.
Now savings. All right. The savings part of this is for future. It is a goal that you want to set for yourself. For instance, if you know that you're going to need, you know, maybe $25 for some event or some sport equipment or some clothes or whatever, then if you're getting $10 a week and you're spending all that $10 a week, you're not gonna get to that $25 very soon. So you need to begin to save monies in order to purchase that item. So that's a goal, to purchase an item that costs $25. Right? So if you're setting aside, you know, $1 a week, then it's going to take you 25 weeks to come up with that $25. All right. So that's your goal. And we're going to talk about a little bit about SMART goals a little bit later. Okay. All right. So we want to work with this little quiz here. This little quiz, I think, is a little long for the time we have.
Okay.
How much more time do we have? Okay. All right. A spending plan. All right. Let's go over this quiz here. Now, question number 1, spending plans are decisions about how you spend your allowance. True or false? Just put it in the chat there. Spending plans are decisions about how you spend your allowance. True or false? Okay, so that's true. All right. Let's go to the next one. A written spending plan is the best way to manage an allowance. True or false? Okay. True. Okay. Number 4, I'm going to skip over some of these for the sake of time. Number 4, everyone has the same spending plan. True or false? Do you think everyone has the same spending plan? Would you have the same spending plan that your friend have or that your parents have? So the answer to that is, okay, false. Yeah, yeah. Giving to a church or a charity can be part of my spending plan. And as I talked before, that is true. Let's go down to number 10. Which of the following is not a spending category? Which is not a spending category? Transportation, of course, getting back and forth to one place to another, school or whatever. Entertainment, candy bars, or clothing. Which would you say is not a spending category? All right, so put your answer out there. Let's see.
In the chat.
In the chat, yes. Okay, so I'm assuming the C you put in there means yes. Okay, candy bar, yes. Okay. All right, very good, very good. You guys are astute planners. Okay. All right. Let's see. Let's move on to the next one here. Okay, so here's an example of a spending diary or a spending plan. You can call it whatever you want. You know, an expense diary or expense plan. Okay. So these are just 2 examples that you might want to take advantage of. Just set it up. But in any case, you know, you can just write it down on a sheet of paper and put at the top of the page, you know, income, and then down below that, expenses or spending, and then itemize the things you want to spend on, you know, clothes, movie, you know, buy, you know, putting some money aside. So what I'm trying to say is that you need to customize your own spending plan. Okay. So if you feel comfortable with any of these, then use them. If not, then you can always find samples of these out on the internet. Okay. Let's go to the next one. Okay. So does any of you that have spending plans or have allowances, do you have any kind of way that you identify what you're going to spend that allowance on, or you just kind of, you know, at randomly spend whatever you want and have no idea or no plans for savings or anything? So just if you can write a few words on the chat, how you do it, we would like to see that. I give you 30 seconds to write something out. Okay. All right. Yeah. So yes, like I said before, there are many ways that you can kind of keep tabs on this kind of thing. Write it out, or you can use your phone, your smartphone, and keep a running total. You have notes on your iPhone, note apps, or I don't know at your age whether you're into spreadsheets just yet, but there's spreadsheets apps that you could use on your phone to kind of keep a running tab on your spending, okay, and allowance. All right. So it looks like we've run out of time for this section, and so, but if you have any questions at the end, you know, you feel free to. Okay, I see someone said they don't plan everything. That's good. That's good. But at least plan. All right. The lack of planning is the first sign of failure. I don't plan everything. My mom typically helps me, and that's great. That means you're getting some input from outside. You're getting some input from an experienced advisor, your mom. All right. So she can help you become become a expert at planning, or you can become her best client. Like we have clients, you can have her become the, you can be her best client, okay? So if you take advice from your parents, I'm sure you'll be better off than not taking advice from them, all right? So I'm gonna turn it back over to Michelle, and she's gonna go over.
Okay, thanks, Brian. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, what?
Move that over and
Move this?
Yeah.
Okay, bear with me. Oh, the screen. Okay. We're looking to go on to the next section. Oh, okay. Go ahead and get. We're going on to the next section, which is talking about comparisons. When you go shopping, do you buy the first thing that you see? Or, for example, if I know I want a new pair of shoes or a new pair of sneakers, do I buy the $100 pair of sneakers at the Under Armour store, or do I look at Target to see if they have them? Do I look at Nordstrom's off the rack? Do I comparison shop to see where I can get the sneakers the cheapest? So when you're shopping, you can find the same item, different stores have them different price. So one store may have it higher price than the other. So it's really important to go ahead and do the comparison shopping. So we're working on getting the screen changed so it is matching up with what I'm saying. So how many of you when you go to buy something, look at different places for that item, or you just buy it the first time you see it? Can you share with me in the chat? Yes. We're going to the next presentation. The last one, yeah, the comparison shopping. Yeah. Why isn't it active? I need to activate it. Okay, so how many of you actually do comparison shopping? So if you want a soda, do you just go buy the soda where you want? Or if you have to spend your money and not your parents' money, do you go where you first see it, or do you go? Oh, it depends. It's a piece of clothing. Okay. Okay. So let's just kind of talk about when you could buy let's say a pair of Nike sneakers, right? You could go buy those Nikes. You could go out to Potomac Mills. I don't know where everybody's located, but that's out in Woodbridge, Virginia. You could go to Potomac Mills and maybe get those Nike sneakers for $55. But if you go buy them in the Nike store, they may be $150. So comparison shopping is a good idea to save you money, and I'm looking at the time, it's the best thing to do for actually everything, and that way your money gets you more and you will have more to use.
Let me just interject if I may.
Sure, I was going to say something.
Sure. So regarding the comparison shopping, you're actually trying to become an intelligent shopper.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to determine what is the item, the price range of that item that's going to save you the most money. Okay. Now I know some people like to say, okay, if I see something on sale, that means I can spend more on something else. All right. But we want you to keep in mind that one of your goals is saving also. Your goal should not be spend every cent that you have from an allowance on shopping or entertainment or going to the movies or anything of that nature. So one of long-term savings by way of comparison shopping, remember if you've allocated, X amount of dollars for that sporting equipment, a glove or sneakers or basketball or tennis racket, if you've allocated a certain amount and you find it on sale, let's say you allocated $10 for it and you did your comparison shopping and it turns out that it's $8, then that's a great opportunity for you to take that $2 and put it into savings and help grow your savings faster. Okay, so comparison shopping is a good technique to learn. And I know most parents, at least most women that I know, my mom and my grandmother, they did most of the shopping for me. And I know they did comparison shopping because they always came back home with something that was more expensive at a lesser price. So comparison shopping is very important. It's a great technique to become familiar with and become good at it, comparison shopping. In some countries, it's called negotiating. Okay, you're negotiating a price with the owner or the seller of it. Okay, so that you can get it at a cheaper price. All right. So with that, it might be time to go to the question.
Okay, so in wrapping up, let's just kind of do a brief summary. So the comparison shopping we talked about, Ed shared the great technique process, but we talked about that in the beginning. We're talking about banks and looking at banks. It's best to compare, look at what the bank is going to charge you as far as those fees, and that is another demonstration of comparison shopping. We are going to I'm going to ask a couple of questions and see what you say. Oh, I can't see them. So the best spending choice is always shopping at brand name stores, buy the same thing my friends buy, C, compare by choices before I buy, or D, always borrow from my friends. Can you? Okay. All right, Christian, excellent. Anyone else going to answer? All right. Kamite or Kimite, David, excellent. You guys are excellent. So television ad, I have one.
Yes, I was going to suggest that one.
I have one more question, and then we're going to see if you guys have any questions. Television ads influence spending decisions by using special music, using pretty pictures, making me think I need the item, or D, all of the above. Okay, y'all are before me. Yes.
Okay, so I wanted number 5 to.
Okay, number 5.
Number 5, yes.
Television commercials for food products are always, I can't see the last, are always, can you guys see the last? Are always, we are wrapping up, are always factual. Television commercials for food products are always factual. Is that true or is that false? Let me see. Okay. Excellent.
So may I ask a question?
Yes.
So how many of you out there do some comparison shopping yourself, and what do you typically do comparison shopping on?
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay. All right.
I did compare shopping.
Yes. Okay.
Sneakers. Yes,
Okay.
that's really good.
I thought I would see that. That's why I asked the question.
Outstanding.
Yeah. Okay.
Outstanding.
All right. So we're coming to a close on this, and we're going to turn it over to our host,
Yes, Krista.
Krista.
And we want to thank you all for taking the time and participating.
Yes, thank you so much. This has been an excellent webinar. I really want to thank our two presenters, Michelle and Ed, for this educational information. It was also very interactive, and I hope everyone learned from this presentation. I know some of you have joined and you are ready for the next webinar. If you could just give us about 10 minutes, we will start shortly after 11 a.m. So thank you all again. For those of you who may not have been able to see the whole webinar, we will also be sending out a recording so you can access it later and share it with whoever you'd like. So thank you so much. Again, we will be restarting shortly after 11 a.m. Thank you.